All right, welcome back. Episode 34, Modern Prescription. My name is Dr. Deepak Dugar.
And I'm Dr. Jeff Toll.
And this is our first virtual session.
This is our first Zoom.
First Zoom
You look
call.
good on
Sorry
Zoom.
I couldn't be there today in person.
I know. What's more important than this? Come on, tell us.
Family. Turns out
family is more important. And I brought a friend who's close like a family member today to be on the episode. Very excited for her.
We're super lucky to have her on today. So she's going to talk to us. Her name is Nikki DeRoest. She's a huge celebrity makeup artist, has created her own makeup line, has worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, and she's going to share a lot of her secrets, insight, talk about plastic surgery, talk about makeup, talk about celebrities, talk about getting people ready for the red carpet. We're talking about
all the
everything.
Interesting stuff.
All the things
all the things we want to know about.
Thank you for joining us, Nikki, and thank you for tuning in to Modern Prescription, episode 34. All right, and we are back on episode 34 with our very, very special guest. We have today Nikki DeRoest, who's a huge makeup artist in LA. I'm going to give you a little bit of her spiel. So she trained under some experts at Bobbi Brown, Chanel, Stila Cosmetics. She was apprenticed under Jake Thomas, Howard McLaurin. She works with some of the biggest names in the industry, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, who she also teaches a masterclass with, Bella Hadid, Emma Roberts, Hailey Bieber. I mean, you name it. She's working with everyone and anyone who we care about as human beings on this earth. In addition to that, not just does she teach and perform her technique, she's also created her own cosmetic line, Rowan Beauty, and continues to collaborate with huge brands, Bare Minerals, Nike, Fendi, Armani, Dior, Coach, Swarovski, Calvin Klein, Adidas, NARS. I mean, I don't understand how you have time for all this, but thank you so much for coming on today.
You missed probably her biggest accolade. You missed the biggest one. So you know how I told you that I cut my own hair for the last 25 years? The one exception, I've had one haircut from another human being, and it was Nikki.
She is here.
And it was fantastic.
It was.
It was a great haircut.
Yeah, you're kind of due for another
I'm
one.
due. I'll come in.
Yeah, he's been so busy. He hasn't been taking care of himself.
That's true. I know. I have pandemic hair right now.
Me too.
It's as good as it gets. So,
yeah.
You know, Nikki's a very close friend of mine, so I'm very happy to have her on. We've been on trips together. We've been on a beach in Tulum together. We've she's been a wonderful ear to listen to all my miseries, and it's great to have you on this show today.
I'm excited to be here.
So Nikki, tell us about what's going on in the makeup industry during the pandemic. How did that change y'all's entire trajectory? Because
half your face is blocked with a mask. Yeah. So are we doing things differently now?
Yeah, it's been a year. It has been a year. I think for all of us in the beginning, it was kind of exciting because it was like, ooh, we're not doing anything. We get to be home. We get to be lazy. And now I think everyone is just over it. I mean, right? But the industry has changed a lot. I work a lot, obviously, with celebrity, red carpet, events. So basically, this year has been not much going on. Not as busy on that front.
But that's given you the opportunity to kind of do your own things and get creative and have some time that you probably
wouldn't have
had.
No, it's been an amazing year. I actually sold my previous makeup line, so I'm working on something new now, which is exciting because I've had the time to really put into a new idea, a new concept, and make it happen. So that's the future. And the world is starting to pick up again. I think that Hollywood has figured out how to navigate around COVID. So we just get tests every shoot, every day, all the time, and we're just used to that. Yeah.
So you mentioned on big events. So tonight is the Golden Globes. Yep. So walk us through. You obviously have taken care of a lot of celebrities, and I think big events like this is so exciting for people who don't attend these, obviously. What's the day in a life like for you if you were taking care of a huge celebrity tonight at the Golden Globes? Like, how does that work?
I'm so nostalgic about it because last award season was so much fun. I was working with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I don't know if you saw Fleabag.
Wow.
And she's amazing. And it's really exciting. Well, I kind of also, it was a great moment because she won literally like every award last year. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like makeup and hairdressers award show as well, and stylists, because it's our one moment that our art gets to be seen by the world. And it's kind of a big deal, but it's so hectic and nerve-wracking at the same time because there's a lot of nerves with the person that you're working with. And then you second guess yourself because you're like, what if I didn't powder the middle of her forehead good enough? And you're waiting to see like the red carpet picture or see them on TV. And so it's really stressful, but it's also really rewarding. It's like all the things you don't think about because no one else.
Did she remember to thank you on the stage or what?
She actually did in a really funny way because one of her looks, she wore a crop top. And so I gave her a little bit more contour on her stomach.
You gave her abs.
And she's like super funny, super down to earth. And she said something about like thanking her makeup artist for the abs. And I was like...
Not her plastic surgeon.
It's funny because we had Dr. Kanodia on a couple of weeks ago, and he was just saying how when someone has a big magazine shoot, they're on the cover of Vogue or whatever, they get to thank their hairdresser, their makeup artist, all these people, but they never want to acknowledge their plastic surgeon because for obvious reasons. And so we got a little bit of a laugh about that.
That's actually really funny. But generally they don't thank their makeup or their team really, like the glam team. So I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah, they thank their lawyer, their like agent.
Yeah.
All the suits get thanked.
Yeah.
But the real important people that get them there.
I mean, we're also their psychiatrists, their psychologists, their everything.
And
how many hours does it take to get someone ready for a red carpet event?
We try to give ourselves like 2 to 3 hours to be comfortable, but it's usually, it's not like I'm doing makeup for 2 hours. A lot of it is you're kind of like hanging out, making decisions, like not rushing yourself so that if you have to make a change, you also can make a change.
And do you know what they're wearing and stuff ahead of time? Or so you come in there, you see the dress or whatever they're wearing?
So you have to be ready to go with whatever is. And a lot of the times too, for kind of industry, it's a way for makeup artists, hairstylists, and stylists to make money. A lot of, because you don't really make a lot of money through celebrity on a day-to-day, but during award season, there's a lot of sponsorships. So but it's also really stressful because on top of just making someone look good, you have this brand that's paying you. And so you have to make sure.
You have to use their products.
You have to do product placement, mention it. A lot of celebrities don't want you talking about products, especially like there's a lot of like politics and back end stuff that's going on. But it's a way for brands to kind of get their name out there in a different way.
And when you are doing, so that's a great question because a lot of people are so curious about that. So if you're getting a huge celebrity ready for a red carpet event, is that considered an honor or do you actually get paid for that? Like not you, but most makeup artists.
You're getting paid through usually the sponsorship.
The sponsorship. Okay, got it.
Yeah. If you do get paid, it might be like it's not like I'm making $10,000 to go do someone's makeup, paid out of pocket or something.
Right, because I think a lot of people ask that as plastic surgeons, we take care of a lot of celebrity patients, and they want to know, do you guys get paid, or you just do it for free? And for us, it's a little different because 99% of the celebrities do not want to talk about it. So
no, they're paying clients. Yeah,
they're paying clients. Exactly. You don't get it for free. Just
they're paying for you not to talk about it, basically.
If they would talk about it, then you probably could do it for free. But when they won't,
because they're going to give you enough value exchange. But I would say most in our industry, most are paying clients. But that's where I see that all the time. And I talk to a lot of celebrities, and some of them tell me like their celebrity friends are sometimes really rude and condescending and don't take care of their team that well. And I hear this about celebrities who, don't take care of their makeup artists and don't, because they know a lot of, you're a different tier than most makeup artists, but a lot of makeup artists are struggling and they don't do as well necessarily as you're doing. So it's a big deal for them to spend an entire day and for them to not get paid anything or not get tipped or, I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think there's always like a big controversy within makeup artists in the industry because there are some makeup artists that have really risen to the top quickly, and it's because they would do everything for free.
Yes.
And so the people that actually were getting paid kind of got thrown to the wayside because they were going for the free. And so it turned into this big thing, and like a lot of this of like newer artists versus older artists. And even for me, when I kind of first started coming up, I had an Instagram following. And so a lot of the older classic makeup artists that didn't want to do social media, didn't care about it, used to think that I was just getting work because of my Instagram following. And so, and it's not like I have some crazy following anyways, but I felt like I had to prove myself of like, I'm here because I'm talented, and I happen to also see the opportunity that Instagram brings. So of course I'm going to use that as a business tool, but I'm not Instagram famous, and that's why I'm here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you referring to Chanel and like the older brands?
No, actual artists. So actual like artists that have worked in Hollywood for a long time that, you know, are a little bit more like, why would I use social media? And, you know, 7 years ago when I realized, when I was watching, I had a lot of fashion blogger friends, and I was like, oh, this is like a whole thing. So I can either decide to use social media and create another business for myself, or I can sit and watch the opportunity pass by because it's going to be here.
Well, to me, that's what's been so impressive is, you know, you were already doing the same things. You just let the world kind of like have a window into what was going on.
Yeah,
and then
thank you.
That allowed people to know what you were doing, know who you are. And, you know, I know obviously you're very entrepreneurial, and that kind of opened a path that really isn't there for most makeup artists. Are like Deepak was saying, they serve their own clients, but it's hard for them to really go somewhere from there. And so,
yeah, I think it's been a really good reminder this last year, because when the pandemic started in March, it was kind of like there was no money coming in. It was like, okay, we're not doing jobs. There's no money coming in. And I gave myself like a month, because at that time I also
well-deserved month.
And I was wrapping up the old business. So I was completely like, I had nothing going on. And I was like, all right, I have an opportunity right now. I can put myself out there. I can make people know that I'm here, show my face, make videos, do things just for myself, not because I'm making money from it, but just by doing that, then the money comes and the opportunity comes. And I think that's with anything in life, you know, that's a huge motto that I have, is like, really, you can be successful. You just have to do it.
Yeah, you have to be not scared. I think, you know, people are scared to put themselves out there, to post. And I think, because I have, you know, medical students, residents that ask me, you know, how did you start posting on Instagram about medicine? It's so awkward, and I feel so weird about doing it. And I kind of did at first, and Deepak has a big following on Instagram, the same thing. And I think there are a lot of people who have technical ability, skill, but they're unwilling to have the risk of marketing themselves. And that's, you know, just as important at the end of the day as the skill.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have both.
Yeah.
If you just market well, but you don't have the skill behind it, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you have both, then that's the road. And that's what
marketing, like you said, is a big thing, because anything you put out there is a risk of hurting your business. And at the same time, it's a risk of growing your business. So it's about balancing what you put out there as a marketer and making sure that A, it's being honest, but B, you're also trying to grow your business without hurting it. So it's such a risk. And I think a lot of people get that paralysis anxiety, like analysis paralysis. You know, people, if you overthink what to post or not to post, and you end up not posting because you analyze too much. So with business building in your in the makeup field, because obviously makeup has been an insane number. We just keep seeing these insane numbers. Kylie Jenner sells for $1 billion. Like, we just keep seeing these nuts numbers. So everyone's like, all right, I want to make a makeup brand, right? So you've actually done it. You've done it from scratch, and you've actually sold a company, and now you're working on a new company, right? So take us through, what's like step one? How do you even create a makeup brand that you're like, okay, now I'm actually going to physically make products? Like, how does that even work?
Well, I think step one is, I mean, if someone was trying to make a makeup brand, I would say, what's your point of difference, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because the market's so saturated. So what are you doing? Whether that is someone like Kylie Jenner that can just make do makeup because she's Kylie Jenner versus a makeup artist. Like, what are you creating that someone's going to buy? So you're not just like another highlighter on the shelf. But once you decide and you're going to do it, step one for me is finding the right lab and the right chemist, because I'm all about formulas. So if the product sucks, then it's not going to go. And that for me takes a long time, because there's different ways that people can do a brand. Like you, Jeff, can go tomorrow and say, I want to make a makeup line and find a turnkey product.
Or like sell vitamins that are white label or whatever.
It's the same thing. Like there is that world of like just taping a label on something that's already been made and putting it out there. I go from scratch, so I'm always innovating products. And then, it's like starting any business. You have to just like put together a team if you want, and then, do all the design, get your packaging going. It's a lot. It's like birthing a child. And right now I'm in that moment. Like I'm actually putting in my PO this week and starting production on the new stuff. And I'm like, it feels like birthing.
Do you have a name yet? What's it called?
I can't say.
You can't say the name yet. Got it.
The secret line.
Anticipation. No, it feels like birthing a child.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I can't help myself. I can't believe I'm doing it again. But I am. I actually don't have any kids, but I'm just imagining that's what it feels like.
Is that what it? Can we ask Pooja if that's what it feels like?
Is that what it feels like?
We'll find out.
Dr. Dugar is currently on his baby moon. That's why he's zooming in today.
I love that. I love that you're taking a baby moon.
That's why I'm not physically there. But
it feels like you are.
To comment on that, so when you talk about lab and chemist, so one thing I've noticed about you is you're all about clean, vegan, cruelty-free. What do all these terms mean? Can you explain that to us? What does clean makeup mean?
So clean used to be really revolutionary. Now I feel like it's pretty standardized. Like I think that the chemists have gotten better to kind of figure out how to create products that are clean. So clean it's basically like even now in Sephora, we'll use Sephora as an example because everyone kind of knows Sephora.
Yeah.
There is a different category of makeup brands that are called Sephora Clean. So it's creating products without specific ingredients that basically could be harmful to you.
That were previously allowed, they're currently still allowed to be put in makeup?
Yes. But I would say on to really think about it, it's the same. I'm sure people ask you like, oh, should I use this deodorant because it could disrupt my lips, right?
Right.
When you really go deeply into a dive of ingredients, it would have to be a really high percentage of whatever it is, I think, to really damage. Mm-hmm. But I also think by eliminating that product, it's like what's hurt.
Because we talk about this all the time with actual medications, prescription medications. These things are studied by the FDA, and they really try to figure out, at least sometimes they don't figure it out till too late, but they eventually try to figure out, are there something in this that's toxic that needs to go away?
Right.
And in the vitamin world, in the makeup world, they're much less regulated, if at all.
Yeah.
And so we'll see things like talcum powder, which everyone used talcum powder for generations.
Yeah.
And then it caused cancer, and it clearly causes cancer.
Yeah.
And so in makeup and vitamins, I think we're continually finding more and more ingredients that may or may not be good to have on your body. Some of those we may not know. Again, especially what ends up happening a lot is things we find out are not good, we get rid of them, and then new things are made, and then we find out those things are not good 20 years later. So we always worry about that.
Yeah, we might find out quinoa is no good for us soon.
Exactly. Yeah. But we do try to eliminate those. So I think that's ultimately what we're getting at. The things that could be harmful, you don't let.
And I think for me, like everything in life, I'm like an 80-20 rule, right? So it's like not everything that I use in my life is clean. I'm personally not a vegan, but I think that if there are ways that we can create things that are amazing, that are clean, that are vegan, why wouldn't we? And why wouldn't I have that to offer to people? Because even with makeup, I'm sure not all the products that people use are clean, but if they have another great thing that is around, they should choose that over something that's not clean. So, because I think it can get a little overwhelming to like live such a lifestyle that is militant all the way around,
Mm-hmm.
It's balance.
what age do you think kids should be allowed to start using makeup? If Nikki decided,
it depends on what it would be. Like I got to start wearing makeup when I was 12, but it was like a blush, a lip gloss, and a mascara. I wasn't allowed to wear eyeliner.
Strict family.
It was a little, yeah. But I came from a very conservative background. But I think in general, makeup can be fun and exciting, especially for little girls, like glitter and things like that. But it's also kind of scary to see like what 14-year-olds look like now compared to when I was 14.
Yeah, because, Dr. Dugar does predominantly a lot of his practice is rhinoplasty.
Yeah.
And that tends to be kind of teenage or late teenage years patients.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kind of has the same thing because not all 16-year-olds are the same 16,
No, correct. Not all of them are mature, and some of them use it wrong. And so there's this whole concept in both of our industries now where body dysmorphia and unrealistic body gain and body goals is a real thing now. I mean, you look on social media, none of us actually look like our photos, right? And so the question is, in the beauty industry, plastic surgery obviously takes the brunt of it, obviously, for creating unrealistic goals. And then I think number 2, or maybe even higher, is photo editing. Editing your photos is probably the number 2 thing. But where do you think makeup lies? Do you think makeup has any negative role in this? Or is it all plastic surgery and editing and makeup's totally fine?
I think that makeup is the tool that you could make yourself look like whatever filter is out there on the internet or whatever Photoshop that you would be doing. So I don't think it gets nearly as bad of a rap as plastic surgery does or Photoshop. And I think filters are the thing that really get the bad rap now, right?
Yeah.
But that's also what's probably helped your business a lot.
Yeah, it's a weird mix. It's a weird dynamic because filters, definitely have promoted more people to be more self-conscious, which is good and bad because you also, I always say plastic surgery is reserved for people who are very healthy mentally. I don't think plastic surgery is for people who are unhealthy mentally because they're not using it for the right purpose. And even after the surgery, if you're a depressed, angry person pre-op, you're going to be a depressed, angry person post-op. It does not change. Like, we're not altering your brain at all during surgery. So I think plastic surgery is just for mentally healthy people. The problem is that most surgeons, I think, are very ethical and they screen patients very nicely. But a lot of surgeons will just do surgery on anyone, which is a problem. But the problem with filters is that there's no one to judge it. So people can use it willy-nilly. And then literally there's these girls who come in and they've been using this type of filter for the past 4 years. And they say, hey, I want to look like this because this is what everyone thinks I look like.
Oh, you mean they're using like a Snapchat filter
the same
for all their photos,
every
and then
time.
they want you to surgically make that a permanent state.
Exactly, because they say, listen, I want to be out in the real world now, and everyone thinks I look like this. What do I do?
Hold on. Has Jeff never seen the... I feel like we need to show him this.
See, I'm so bad at Instagram that I didn't really know how to even do the filters.
There's this filter, and I bet you know this filter. It's called Cute Baby Face.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah. Let's see what Jeff looks like.
Jeff, I want you to try this filter.
Tell everyone where you're finding it so they can play on their phone too.
This is on Instagram.
And it's called Cute Baby Filter.
See, I don't even know
it's
how to do it.
It's this filter called Cute
this.
Baby Face.
Okay.
I look insane right now.
No, I look try this right now. If you're listening,
it changes your eye. It changes your eye color. It makes your lips like this, and it like narrows your nose. It lengthens your eyes.
We took a photo just so it's immortalized. We can post it.
We have to post that. Save that photo so we can post it. That's
but hilarious. I look insane. Like, it's so...
That is hilarious.
Oh my God. It makes you look like you had too much plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's really... So I'm working on making a filter. Just it's another way to market yourself on Instagram, and it's fun.
Oh, that's cool. A personal filter?
Yeah. So it's like you can make one for your account.
That's cool.
So I was doing this Q&A with my followers to say, be like, what kind of filters do you like? What do you like? Ones that are like change your face, or do you like ones that just make your skin better? Or do you like ones that whatever? But my following is like, they're cute and I guess they're kind of like me, in the sense that it's like we want to look fabulous and feel amazing, but also I want to have like realistic.
Yeah.
But that means I've done a lot of work on myself, like my skincare regimen is insane. I use an LED light all the time. I work out all the time. Like, I keep myself up, but the goal was because I didn't want to have to use filters, and I want people to see whatever I'm showing on the internet. Like, if they meet me in person, hopefully I look better in person than I even do on the internet.
Much better.
Thanks. But you know what I mean? Because that was always my fear, because in the past I would meet these people that I idolized on the internet, and then I'd see them in person and I was like, this is what they look like in person. Like, it's so different.
I see that every day in my office, and people come in and they just do not look like their social media at all. And these are people with millions of followers. And the problem is they don't necessarily leave their house to become who they are. I think, you're probably a little bit like me and Jeff, where we're a little old school. We are out and about, we talk, we meet people, we shake hands. We're part of this real society in LA.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are not. They don't socialize, they don't go out, they just post a photo, get paid for their advertisement, and that's it. And they live in their little bubble, and they're not part of the real world. So when they do pop out once in a while, you look at them and you say, that's not what you look like at all in real life.
I know. It like hurts me. It makes me sad for that to be someone's reality, because you lose the joy in life and like the connection with people. And I think that's what I'm always trying to encourage with people. We were talking about this in the car. Like, I have a lot of people that will DM me and be like, have you done Botox or fillers? Should I do Botox or fillers? Like, they're all asking these questions. And it's like, that's not me. That's not my place to decide for you. But there's no shame in it. If that's something that you can do, a little tweak that's going to make you feel good, then to each his own. And also, some women feel really confident with these big, full, like, intense filled lips. And some you would never know have filler. But if that's something that's going to make you feel confident, who am I to say whether that's good or bad? And I think the same way with plastic surgery. It's like, it's so personal, as long as you're coming at it from a place, like you said, that's healthy and happy.
Yeah, I get asked, I love that. I love what you just said, because I get asked all the time, should I do my nose? My patients come in, they're like, what would you do to my nose? And my answer is always, I would do nothing to your nose. No one needs a nose job. And then I'll pull my mask down and show them my nose. Like, I have a sort of a big nose. And I say, I have a big nose. Technically, you could say I need a nose job, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me, so I don't get a nose job, right? If I needed a nose job. And then I also make the joke that there's also not another Dr. Dugar, so who would do it, But the point is that you don't do it because anatomically someone else thinks you need it. It's like you said, it's very personal. If it makes you feel better, like me doing my nose is not going to make me feel any more confident. So it depends on what makes you feel good.
You don't want to be too handsome also.
Yeah, there's a limit. Me and Jeff walking together.
It's complicated. Yeah. It's just like, it can't be.
That's why I can't let Nikki always cut my hair, It would be a real problem out there.
Something's got to be a little off. Yeah, we can't have it all.
A little natural. So what do you do with celebrities who have had bad work, and you're looking at them and you're doing their makeup and you're like, ugh, why would you have done that? Do you comment?
It's always a fun game for me, like going into, it's more models than celebrities that end up, at least the ones I've worked with, that have done things to themselves. But that's always the question, because I'm like, what work have they had done? And then, you get in close to the face and you're like trying to figure out what's been done and what hasn't been done. The thing that annoys me the most, honestly, well, I guess there's two things. Bad lip filler really
that's my least favorite one.
It's really frustrating for me. And it's frustrating that doctors do bad filler.
Yeah.
Oh, there's probably a lot of non-doctors that are doing the bad filler
probably,
too.
Yeah. It's more lip injections are done by non-doctors than doctors today, because just based on volume.
Yeah. So that one's kind of frustrating, because that's hard to come. Like, I'm surprised how many models get booked for beauty jobs, beauty campaigns that have bad filler.
Mm-hmm.
So that
maybe they got booked before the filler.
I don't know.
The filler, how long does lip filler last?
So filler depends on what type of product is used. It can last anywhere between 6 to 24 months, depending on the product. Sometimes, historically, they used non-dissolvable products that were all the rage in the 90s, called silicone. Lisa Renee obviously famously admitted that she got silicone injections and they had to be removed surgically from her lips. And she talked about this openly in public, so I can mention it. But the gist is that permanent products, if there's any issues, become permanent problems. So we as a society have gone away from that. We use
I would agree. Why would someone do anything that would last?
Because the good thought is that if you have to
cheaper.
redo your lips every 6 to 12 months, it's expensive and annoying. And so everyone wants the cheap one and done option. But the problem is your body ages. So implants don't last a lifetime. So just like breast implants, you put a breast implant in, it only lasts, the lifeline of a breast implant is 10 years. You got to think about that when you're doing your breast.
I better call the doctor.
Yeah. You need a different one. This one doesn't do those.
No, I have them.
What?
Mine, these are not real.
Yeah, I know.
When did you do your breast? If you don't mind, if we ask, since you brought it up.
When I was 20, it was 2008. So what is it now? 2021. So these are old.
You should talk to your doctor. Also, tell me, what was your impetus at the time, and did it make a huge impact in your confidence?
Okay, so back then I was working in the salon, and it was, the cool thing to do. Like, because back then it was all like Dolce & Gabbana, like tight dresses and like really.
Were you still back home in Utah?
I was in Utah.
Yeah.
I was in Utah.
Wow.
I was just living that salon life. And anything I've ever done has never been like a really thought out thing. Like, I think in March, I had a client come into me at the salon, and she was like 42, and she was like, "Oh, I just got surgery." And I was like, "What? You did?" And because I used to think breast implants were so tacky and so lame, and I was just like, "Ugh," because all you would see were girls that had like the saline, like
big ones,
big balls, And she was like, "Do you want to see them?" And I was like, "Okay." We were close, so she like takes me in the bathroom and she shows me her boobs, and I was like, "That's what they can look like." And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I want to do that." And so I was like, "Give me your doctor." Literally just called this doctor, was like, "I want to do this." It was March. I got them done in May. I got my tax returns.
Wow.
This is classic.
Is this a write-off?
I used my tax return money to help pay for my implants. Didn't tell my parents until like the day before, because I didn't want them to tell me no. And my dad's so sweet. He like took me to the surgery.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And
oh wow.
Yeah. And when I went into the pre-op, the doctor, because my dad's sitting in there, and he goes, "Now are you her?"
There's one thing I learned in LA is you never assume it's the dad.
Yeah, and I was like, "It's my dad," and he was like, "Oh, okay, I'll turn you away while I'm like drawing on you."
That's funny.
Yeah, because I was like, "Why is he even asking me that?" And I was like,
It's
because welcome to LA.
Anyway, so I did it. It was impulsive. I'm glad I did it. Would I be okay without it? Absolutely. Like, I've definitely been like, "Oh, these are stupid. Like, let's take this out. Like, whatever." But I'm lucky that I had a good experience, because I know for a lot that could have gone very badly too.
Yeah. And I hear that all the time with breast and with girls who have like big humps or like obvious nose deformities. It just creates this crazy impact psychologically with your confidence. It's not even psychological. Like, you physically get more attention, period. Like, there's no question about it. For a lot of my patients who tell me about it. Was that your experience too? Did you feel like you got more attention?
It's kind of unusual, because I think after I did it, then I dressed more modestly.
I was going to say, because we've known each other for a long time, you never, ever, almost never wear things with cleavage or like show them. Never.
No, it made me dress more modestly. So I don't know what that has to say about it.
No,
but like,
great. That means it's more mental. It was more, it was more internal for you, which is the whole purpose of doing it. You weren't doing it for outside approval.
Yeah. But I think it's like a phase thing for me. It was like this. Yeah. I used to have a big tattoo on my shoulder that I got. And it was like another one of those like, "Oh yeah, I love tattoos. Like, I want to do this." And then I just recently got it removed. So I think now, like, the joke is like, I should just stick to piercings, because those can come out when I'm over it, and it's not such a permanent.
I thought the lesson was going to be to stop doing stupid things, but apparently it wasn't that.
Or maybe just think a little longer about it.
It's funny because I don't have tattoos. I don't have any of these things, because I always was thinking, well, when I get old, it's going to look stupid. So
yeah, it's true.
Why would I do that?
But the doctor did tell me, back to the 10-year thing is like how we even got on this, because I was like, well, what's the deal? Like, do I have to get these done again? And I used to live in Utah, and you probably know, like, Utah is a haven for plastic surgery.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
it's
Salt Lake City is huge.
It's
What?
one of the top.
Are the Mormons allowed to do?
Yes.
They're not
Really?
gambling. They're not.
So they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to show them to anyone, but they're allowed to get them done.
Well,
They
to
can
their
show
loved
their
one.
man.
To their
Yeah.
loved
No,
one.
But they're not drinking. They're not smoking. They're not gambling. So their money goes towards
Got it.
plastic surgery,
I
right?
didn't know that.
And
Didn't know that.
the Mormon culture, like, people really like to look good. Like, it's like a lot of good-looking people walking around Utah. But
I have a
it's,
lot of clients from Salt Lake City. I do a lot of the kids from Salt Lake for their noses.
Really?
It's very big.
it's big, and it's one of the top cities in the U.S., I think, for plastic surgery.
Yeah.
So it was pretty
Wow.
standard.
I would have
there.
guessed the very bottom.
No, it's
Wow.
big. Breast augmentation and tummy tuck all day long
Really?
there. But so I was saying, do I have to come get this back? And he was like, well, most people do, because by the time I should have kids by now, according to Utah standards, and they get used to their breasts being bigger from having children. So they usually want to go bigger after and redo them. But he was like, I'm not going to send you a postcard in the mail in 10 years and say that you need to get them redone. So I just have been like, whatever, I don't really want to deal with that. Like, but apparently now I need to deal with that.
No, not necessarily. But to go back to your tattoo story, so there's a joke that plastic surgeons invented tattoos because we knew in the future we would have these lasers to get rid of them.
Yes.
Tattoo removal
I think that's
is
brilliant.
Huge.
Oh, it's so cool to me that you can take them away.
Did
It's so cool.
yours go completely away, or do you still have some faint scar of it?
Let me be modest, but show you. This is only 3 sessions.
You can barely.
So
Wow.
technically, I should have it finished, but COVID happened and I haven't been back. But I had a full shoulder piece. Like, I was like a little bit of a
We'll
badass.
post the photos.
Yeah.
We'll post some
Man,
beach photos.
The phases I've gone through in my style. But I waited for the really good laser because I also did a lot of research and I saw like Dr. Tatoff or whatever.
Yeah, that's a
people's-
common brand.
Best marketing.
People's were
Dr. Tat off is
yeah,
the
but
best.
people's shoulders or flesh was like burning off, and I was like, that looks awful.
We both had. I think hopefully we can find a photo where I have a ponytail and you have a shoulder tattoo.
yeah,
That would be great.
absolutely.
That would be a good photo.
But I think that the laser that I used was like Pico Sure or Pico something.
Pico Sure. Very common laser, very popular one.
But the only reason I did it was because they injected my entire shoulder with Novocaine, so I actually didn't feel it. And I think that's the secret to a good tattoo removal.
Wow. Very much. So what would be your advice to young kids who are playing around and starting to get into makeup? You know, a lot of the makeup industry obviously is tailored towards younger people. Do you clean makeup, not clean makeup, what brands? I mean, there's a million things. Like, how does one even begin when they're a young kid trying to figure out what the hell to do when you walk in the makeup aisle?
I would say for any young kid or parents that are going to buy their children makeup and things to start with skincare, to be honest. Because I think that having skin confidence and not having to wear makeup is like top priority. And I think that's something I'm always talking about. And that's, because good skin starts when you're young. And I can tell a lot, you can tell the kids that their parents get them on moisturizers, sunscreens, all those different things. And they don't really have as much issues with acne because acne is a confidence killer. That is the thing that can really, I think it's hard. So I would say that is where I would start is investing in, it doesn't have to be expensive, crazy skincare, but just a routine. And then as far as makeup goes, I think the best part about being young is that you can really express yourself. Like that's the time where you can be weird. You can try colors, you can use glitter, you can, but also like have fun with it because, I think the biggest thing going back to fillers that always shocks me is that I will work with some models that are probably more like Instagram models that are 20 and they have so much going on in their face that I'm like, I don't know if you're 20 or 40. Like it really ages women if they do it too young, and I think that that's like really complicated and
I
tricky,
feel that way.
I
feel that way too.
But a lot of guys don't notice filler. You do, I guess, because you're in the world. But like, I have so many guy friends and they'll show me these girls online like, oh, look at this chick, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to be rude, but I'm also like, whoa, like, look at her lips. And they're those are natural. And I'm like, you're insane. I'm like, especially if you live in LA, I would say, 80% of girls my age, our age, probably have
lips.
Yes, have done that.
Dabbled in something, yeah.
But the thing is, if you try it, you just said yourself it lasts 2 years, so you have it.
Not necessarily 6 months to 24, depending on the product.
You can also get it dissolved, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can get those dissolved. Yes.
Can you?
My goal would be to work with a plastic surgeon and tell women, like, you have your point of view on where it should go. I have mine, and we should work together.
Yes.
I will say my biggest advice for women that are considering getting filler, I might be wrong because you actually do this, but like...
No, your advice is your advice, please.
Don't go for the Cupid's bow for the filler. I think it needs to be more on this section of the lip.
Otherwise, it doesn't move normally.
Yeah, and it's like the dead giveaway when your lips are like this.
Yeah, and when they're puffy above the red of the lip. You're saying stay in the red of the lip. Don't get into the skin area.
Don't get in the skin, but fill like these outside
laterally
corners.
Where it meets at the oral commissure, like this, the corner of your lips.
Yeah, and like this little section. Yeah. I think that's always like a nicer looking fill than like going...
Well, I think you and me have a very similar aesthetic because I'm very conservative. I'm one of the most conservative injectors, surgeons in general. So a lot of my patients will leave me, to be honest, because they want less conservative. And then, 99% of my patients who stay with me, they obviously love that conservative aesthetic. But, I've learned that, because I've been doing this a long time now, I've learned that patients, there's just different value. Like you said, it comes down to what makes them feel confident. And some girls like that look that you don't personally like. But they like it. So, it gets hard because how do we judge, and I'm working on a project right now where we're studying concepts of beauty across the world. And, we're looking at these tribes in Africa where these women put these rings around their neck to elongate their neck. And they do it because contextually they're considered more beautiful if they have a longer neck. The woman with the longest neck gets to marry the tribal chief. Like there's all these contexts of beauty. And to us, it's like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you elongate your neck? That's not natural. Right. And yet they look at us and they're like, why would a 16-year-old stick hyaluronic acid in their lips to make them look fat? Right. Yeah. So it's like, it depends on the lens of beauty. It's all hyper contextual. And even in our little bubble, we're judgmental towards each other sometimes. And that's where I and me and people like us three who are all on the more natural aesthetic, we have to remember there's some things that we do that they probably look at and think it's just ridiculous, No,
I feel that. I think that that's so important. And that's something even with makeup. Like
I was going to say
I probably attract a type of person that wants to look fresh and more natural and whatever. But there's an entire world of makeup out there that is transformative. And people without makeup on to makeup on look like completely different humans.
Right.
And I think that that's beautiful too, because that's art in its own form and it's a way for someone to express themselves. So like, it's kind of like everyone should just, you do you. And like whatever that is, if you want to look a certain way, go for it if that's what makes you happy. Because I think the happiness factor is like what we're all after 100%. And confidence. So I like 100%. That theory.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, let's play we're going to play our game for the day, okay? So we're going to take you some of the most popular news stories and you have to tell us if they're true or false.
Oh, great.
All right. So
I've like checked out of the news after the elections.
Well,
like,
good. Then you're going to be...
then this is going to be very honest.
These will be fun.
All right. So the first one, Demi Lovato says that after her overdose, she's been left with brain damage and can't drive anymore because she has blind spots in her vision. True or false?
True.
Yeah, it's true. She's releasing a really, really in-depth documentary that her team technically didn't even want her to reveal, kind of just going through it really openly and honestly because she thinks that it'll be a huge role model-esque thing for people because people don't talk about it. Celebrities go through these huge emotional roller coasters with drugs and alcoholism and addiction, and they never open up or talk about it. And she thinks that she can, obviously having a huge voice, 100 million followers on Instagram, one of the best-selling artists of all time, that she can really help people understand her struggle and what she's dealing with and why it's so important to get help early and not wait. But yeah, she's saying she's having trouble driving, blind spots in her vision. She had a hard time reading for a long time. She just feels like the damage that she was left with is something that she's never going to get rid of fully, but she's still working to improve herself emotionally through lots of therapy, emotionally and physically. So yeah, really, really inspiring in my opinion to open up and be so vulnerable.
I think that's so cool. And I think it's such a great example for the young generation too, to see a role model like that and see, because she's also gone through a lot that we've seen, tabloids of like, oh, Demi Lovato, blah, 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 like throughout the years.
Can you imagine having to live that way?
No.
Where everyone's analyzing every relationship,
it would be
decision,
awful.
song.
It would be awful. And
So
it
difficult.
has such a huge effect, I'm sure, on how she's feeling now.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool that she's being vulnerable and taking her experience and turning it into something that makes her feel like she's got a greater purpose to teach people and share as well. So hats off to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Annie's mac and cheese linked to fertility issues. True or false?
I mean, it sounds... Annie's like...
that homegrown...
How
Annie's
would cheese hurt fertility? False.
It's true. It's absolutely true. So Annie's homegrown, largely known for its organic brand, macaroni and cheese, they just have recalled their product and they're taking steps to remove a potentially harmful class of chemicals called orthophthalates from its products and packaging materials. Basically, it sounds like the packaging had this chemical in it that scientists are saying can harm fertility, health of babies, and disrupt hormones key for development and genetic organization of sperm. So it's actually true. And Annie's, even though they're considered the leaders of organic products and organic food, is
Crazy.
Also under heat for still having unhealthy chemicals in their foods.
And that was probably unintentional, it was probably
100%.
just in the, you know what I mean? They probably were trying to not have stuff in there, and it's that hard with,
they're one of the
if you're
biggest
using
organic
chemicals.
brands.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a tough one because, and that's where I went back to what you do with makeup and clean makeup, because everyone's trying to be clean, I guess. Like you're saying, that's like the new trend, but it's impossible to be 100% clean in day-to-day lifestyle. Like
We just don't know. I think that's it. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
We know the things that we know are bad, we should get out. And that's really what we're talking about, is the clean ones are the ones we know right now that are bad are out. And they try to study the other ones and hope that they're good. But time will tell, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then the last one, this is a good one. We have a new, true or false, new Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine is approved.
True.
This is very exciting stuff. So Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is just one dose instead of two.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite as effective in preventing coronavirus as the other two vaccines that are already approved. So the other two are like 95% effective. This one's more like 80% effective, but it does prevent severe disease like people dying from coronavirus or going to the hospital. And since we don't have enough vaccine to get it to everyone in the country for the other two vaccines, it would be great to obviously get this third one on board. It increases herd immunity, decreases hospitalizations. I think we're getting closer and closer to back to normal here.
Do you think that people, because you just said, oh, it's 80% instead of 95, do you think people will be like, I don't want to take the Johnson & Johnson because it's not as high as the others?
I do think so. So, if it was me being the decision maker, the one deciding what we do, for me, a great use of this one would be for the younger population, the people that are actually not as at risk in the first place. So meaning like teenage to 40-year-olds, because basically, even if none of those people or very few of those people, I should say, would get really sick if they really got coronavirus.
Right.
They would be fine.
Yeah.
But by making 80% of them immune, that would really reduce. They're the spreaders, the super spreaders.
Yeah.
And so if you could immunize the young people to be 80% protected, that would really reduce the pandemic in general. And so that would hopefully sort of turn things back to normal, at least for a while. I think the scary thing I'm going to say, and this, everyone listening, is that, we're seeing more and more of these new variants and strains out there. And so hopefully the vaccine's going to come by the end of spring. Most of us will be vaccinated, and things will go back to normal-ish. One thing I'm worried about is the new strains are anything that is resistant to these vaccines if there's one strain out there that's resistant and people stop wearing masks, that thing is going to just boom.
It can't make people
explode.
lazy. Yeah.
And then hopefully, now that we have 3 companies making vaccines and hopefully more to come, we will all get into this place where every 6 to 12 months, we'll all be getting COVID vaccinations to cover the new strains that are there so we can actually be normal.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to, in the spring to summer, we're going to get normal. I'm worried new strains are going to come. People are going to have masks back on. Things may have to close for a little while. Then we're going to have to get newly vaccinated against those strains. And then hopefully we just go through this cycle, but we can catch up.
We have more systems in place, so the process is a little
Happens
smoother
faster. People can get vaccinated. Hopefully offices can vaccinate their own patients in the future. And just, we get out of this hopefully within less than a year.
Nikki,
I'm ready to be out.
Nikki, give us your best guess. What is what? Tell us the number of vaccinations you think have been given out in America so far. Just single dose. It doesn't have to be fully vaccinated.
I don't know if I know the answer to that.
3 billion.
3 billion?
No. 3 million.
3 million.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
Way higher. 72.8 million vaccines have been administered in America.
So almost, what is that, a quarter? Or no, 1/5?
Yeah, almost a quarter of the entire
1/5.
U.S. population has gotten the vaccine. At least one dose.
Yeah, so we're getting closer.
Yeah.
Is it true that in Israel, that they vaccinated the younger crowd first, and then did you read anything about that?
I don't think so. I think they were just less strict about it being just over 65, so everyone could get it.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to decide who should get it first. Obviously, the older people are the most at risk, but the younger people are the spreaders.
Right.
So it's who do we protect? So the way we did it in the U.S. was basically protect the people who could die first.
Yeah.
And then once they're all safe, now we're trying to prevent the spread.
I think about that a lot on Saturday and Friday. We live close to each other in West Hollywood, and all you see are there are people out and people are doing things. And I'm these are all the people that need shots immediately because.
But a lot of those people probably already had COVID. So they're probably, I think what we've learned from places like Miami, where things are, if you're fully open, anyone who's worried about getting it is scared out of it and left or just not going outside.
But if people have had COVID, what are the chances of them getting it again?
So they're probably fully protected for at least 3 months. Mm-hmm. They're very likely protected for about 9 months to a year. We don't, since the virus has been around for just over a year, we don't really have data completely yet. But you're probably very protected for the first few months. So even now when someone has COVID, we don't actually recommend that they get the vaccine for at least 3 months after their case has resolved. So they are part of the herd immunity. So people who have had it in the last 3 to 6 months are part of it. So that's why 75 million people have had the vaccine. Another 50 or so have had it now, or how high are we? So we're almost a half of the population now that's partially protected. So we're
getting
a few months
closer.
We're getting closer. We think it's 80% need to be immune in order for herd immunity to work. And so what herd immunity means is if you walk into a restaurant where the windows are closed and the doors are closed, if 80% of the people in the room are immune and one person has the virus and they sit down, and if the people at the surrounding tables are vaccinated, it just stops that maybe one person in the restaurant will get it, but not 10.
Wow.
So it stops that exponential growth. So as soon as we hit that herd immunity, it still will be going around a little bit, but it won't explode. It won't fill the hospitals. It won't do all these really bad things that have been happening.
Yeah. Doctor, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yep.
Not
Which
you, doctor.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that because I knew you would both respond.
Got it. Well.
But I was actually I knew Jeff would do that. So that's fine. Have you been
Dr. Jeff. It's Dr. Jeff.
Oh, sorry. Have you been really busy with surgeries because people have had downtime and it's the best time to recover because you're wearing a mask?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I actually did an article for Financial Times about this recently where we talked about how there's been a huge boom in the industry for plastic surgery. And it's not just locally, it's worldwide. So surgeons in London, surgeons in Australia, everyone has been busier than ever because of what you just said. People have downtime and people are able to recover at home wearing masks. And so there's this huge ability for time. Because, I have hundreds of patients from around the world who fly in, and then there's a cognizance of, okay, well, when can I do this? All right, let me look at my calendar. Maybe in 6 months, I'll have a week where I could do this. Now it's like, all right, can I do it tomorrow? Are you guys open tomorrow? And so, it's been good for business, and it's been good that we were able to stay busy. The biggest thing is, we have been very safe about our practices. There's been a lot of plastic surgeons who aren't as safe, and we kind of hear stories about how they're kind of taking things a little bit more lightly than they should. We even unfortunately had a plastic surgeon here in Beverly Hills, one of my colleagues, who passed away just recently from COVID. So it's very sad. And, it's not 100% because of his fault. It's just these things happen. So I think it's one of those things that you got to be cognizant of, but at the same time, if you do it safely, and thankfully now most plastic surgeons' offices, the doctors, the staff, they're all vaccinated. And so you can make sure that you're keeping yourself and your staff safe. But it's been busy, and it's been, great for patients to take advantage of this time. But I do think that end of the day, the biggest thing is respecting the virus and the pandemic and making sure that people are safe, because that's more important.
I have another question.
That's what I would definitely think. No, time to get a nose job when you're wearing a mask to cover your face, and time to perfect your eye makeup. Has that been busy for you during the pandemic?
Yes and no. I think skincare is really where people are putting their money and time into right now. Because they're like, I'm at home, I'm on Zoom.
How about the mask knee?
Mask knee is a thing.
Definitely a thing.
For sure.
It's happened to me a few times.
Yeah. It's like we're just trying to figure out this new way, which is like self-care to the max. But now I feel like we all have to undo. Like, I've been so lazy lately, and I'm like, I got to get back running and like doing all these things, because even running an errand feels like it's like so hard now,
Yeah.
Like now it's like everything you buy online, everything comes to your house, and it's just like.
Well, I think, like you said, skincare is becoming so popular. And that's where I think a lot of the makeup industry and the dermatology, plastic surgery industries are colliding a lot now in a good way, because the infrastructure is in makeup, right? Mm-hmm. Products, packaging, manufacturing, distribution, that's all in the makeup world, right? Skincare has a little, small sector of that, but most of that's in makeup. And now you're seeing it even with the biggest brands in the world, like Kylie switching to Kylie Skin, right? So everyone's trying to get into the skin care market, because it's, like you said, probably the most important foundation for good makeup is having healthy skin.
Yeah. At what age do you think if a teenager doesn't feel confident about her nose?
Yeah.
Or he or she?
Yes.
What age is...
Or they.
Yeah. What is too young? Because does the nose really change and grow and do all those things?
Yeah. Absolutely. So 15 to 16 is kind of when the nose is fully matured. Some people, it does mature faster, 13 to 14. What we usually say is your shoe size needs to be matured. So when you're no longer physically growing in your shoe size, because you can still grow skeletally, like you can still have like growth spurts when you're 18 or 19, right? There's some of these college basketball players who freshman year are 5'10", and then sophomore year are 6'3". That happens. But usually their shoe size doesn't change, and their skeletal framework of their face doesn't change. So 14, 15, 16 is usually the general age range where your facial skeleton size is maximized. But then there's also another much more important factor that you have to take into account, which is emotional maturity. So I see a lot of these kids who will come in for consults and they don't talk. They're looking down the entire time. They won't make eye contact with you. And it's the mom or dad just talking the whole time. I don't operate on those kind of children because they're not ready. They're not psychologically, mentally mature enough to understand what they're about to do. Versus the kids who come in, they're very confident, they're very secure. They look you in the eye. They know what they want, more or less. And they just kind of have this concept of, listen, I'm a normal kid. I like myself. I think I'm good looking. I hate this thing. I just wish this thing was better, And then those are the people who I think have the emotional and maturity that you can work with them in a healthy way. But what you don't want to do as a plastic surgeon, in your field too, in any aesthetic market, we want to leave them feeling more, not less. Because I think we're in positions where we can prey on people's insecurities so easily and make them feel like, listen, if you don't wear this makeup every day, you're ugly, right? You can really prey on them really easily if you want to. And I think it's our position that we have to be really respectful, that make them feel better about life. Don't make them feel worse just to sell. Like, we got to be humans first and businesses second.
Yeah. I have kind of a weird question.
Yeah.
But it might be rated R.
Okay.
Let's go for it. Rated R is the best.
This is just merely off of like looking on the internet. I saw this thing on Instagram yesterday and it was like probably a joke, but I was like, do people really do this? So it was like this joke about this man saying, my wife had a baby, so she needs to go, or no, it was a doctor. And he was saying, oh, this guy said his wife had a baby, so she needs to go and get her things tightened up for sex.
Vaginal rejuvenation, yes.
Yes. So then the doctor was like, well, why doesn't he come in here and let's put a syringe into his penis and inject it with filler.
Yep.
And then...
Yeah.
And I was like, do men do that?
So we've actually talked about this before. We have.
All of a sudden I was like, why? Hold on a second. Is that a thing?
We find that to be a poor idea, the filler.
Yes, filler in the penis we think is bad.
We had a urologist on the show as well to talk about if men have erection problems, what to do about that. So there's medications, and worst case, there are implantable devices and pumps and all sorts of things to get it up better.
No, I'm just merely talking about size.
Filler, the problem with the filler is...
filler is the most common thing for size, but the problem is it's very, very dangerous because one of the worst side effects of filler is called skin necrosis, where you lose some of the tissue because the blood vessel gets compromised. And so that can happen in the face too. It happens all the time as a very rare side effect of filler. But if that were to happen on a genital organ, that would be destructive to your lifestyle, your confidence. I mean, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine what you would go through.
Wouldn't it shift also the filler?
It just sounds like a terrible idea. I know a dermatologist here in LA who does these procedures, which I think are very unsafe. I won't mention his name, but I just don't think
I didn't
that's
even
a
know
safe
that
thing.
people were really doing it. Then I was going to Google it, and then I was like, I don't know if I really want to go down a rabbit hole.
There's doctors who do it on a regular basis, and they promote it, and they, and this is, like I said, it's on the
Cialis
spectrum.
sounds like a better idea. Go.
I'm glad I got that question answered.
Vaginal rejuvenation is a real thing.
Luckily, no one on this podcast needs something like that.
Good thing.
Yeah, but vaginal rejuvenation is a real thing, and people do it for good reasons and bad reasons. I think a lot of women, after giving birth, there's a lot of positive reasons for it, but there are negative reasons. In Middle Eastern countries, there's these male-dominated control of female bodies sometimes, so severe that they make women get what are called hymenoplasties. So there's this old myth that if a woman doesn't have a hymen, which is like a thin mucous membrane that should be popped whenever they're having sex the first time, if a woman doesn't have that, it means they're not a virgin. Which is a total fallacy. It's not a real thing. A lot of women don't have one, or B, it can be injured from riding a bike. It doesn't have to necessarily be from sex. And there's these Middle Eastern culture, not everyone, but there are some few people who have this very male patriarch mentality that if a woman doesn't have it, they're not pure. And there are literally hundreds of stories of women being thrown out of their house the morning after their marriage because the husband didn't feel a hymen pop. And he thinks she's not pure, and he throws her out on the street in the morning after and says the marriage is over. And so it's crazy. So there's literally a procedure that happens in the Middle East on a daily basis called hymenoplasty, where surgeons will recreate a fake version of a hymen using some mucous membrane from the inside lining of the vagina, just so the husband feels like he popped something.
Wow. Yeah. I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Do women really get a rib removed to make their waist look smaller?
That's, again, something very, very, very controversial. The average plastic surgeon would never do that. But yeah, it's a real thing. And there are surgeons who do it, and there are surgeons who are okay with it.
Are there surgeons in LA that do it? That you've heard?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I would say yes.
I would say yes too, though. Yeah, I don't know that for sure.
So what does it do? It just makes your waist like dent in a little bit more right in that area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the ribs at the bottom are called floating ribs. You don't need them. We have extra ribs at the bottom. And so we even use those during surgery. When you're taking...
Harvest.
You need cartilage sometimes for certain surgeries, like nose surgery if you're reconstructing a nose. So you take cartilage from those floating ribs that you don't need anyways. So you can remove the entire thing safely without any major issues or complications. It's just totally unnecessary risk just to have your, rib cage a little tighter.
So how are these bodies looking like cartoons?
Yeah.
How are they going? How is it happening?
A lot of them are body contouring where they're moving fat from the abdominal area and putting it in the hips and butt to make it more hourglass. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like the Kardashian type procedure that's become popularized, like Brazilian butt lift, where they put fat everywhere. But the other thing is like even Kylie Jenner, who's obviously, or Kendall Jenner, who's super skinny, obviously, she got kind of caught this weekend for posting a video because there's now video morphing apps. You know, you can morph your photos, but everyone's like, you can't morph the video, right? Now you can morph a video. And so there's this girl, her Instagram, I forgot what it's called, IG Famous by Dana. And she posted the video that Kendall posted, and they caught the glitch in the video where the hip went in and out real quick by accident. Because you know when you're doing the filter, sometimes it pops in and out. And so they caught it on it, and they're kind of trying to shame her for doing that because it sets unrealistic body goals for young kids who are watching it and think that, oh, this is what I should look like.
No, it's like, it's so interesting because you see it online and you're like, how does that body do that? Like, because you see it in yeah.
I mean, I feel that way sometimes when I look at contoured makeup and I'm like, wait, what's going on there?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, that doesn't look right.
You're like, you want to just...
I need to wash my t-shirt after giving you a hug, huh?
But like everything, like makeup, plastic surgery, I think all of it, if it's used healthily in the right way with the right mindset, it's a beautiful thing. But of course, it gets abused a lot. And so that's where all of our industries get some of a bad rep because of the abuse of those products.
So we just very much want to thank you for coming on today.
Yes.
I think
I loved this.
This was very fun and informative. And it's great to have you guys meet each other too, actually.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go have lunch with you.
Yeah, I think you guys should have lunch.
Anytime. It's a great conversation.
And then you got to let us know when the new product line drops.
Yes.
Maybe I'll come back.
We're anxiously waiting. We'll have you on again.
Well, I'll come back and I can teach you guys a few things.
Yeah, maybe you guys can make a little video tutorial together.
Like that,
maybe
actually.
You guys can do your makeup.
That's
you want to do
fun.
my makeup? No way.
We'll do Jeff's makeup.
That's a no. We'll bring like Juliana or something. You can do hers.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you all for listening. Episode 34 of Modern Prescription. Continue to like, subscribe, and follow. Ask us questions in the comments and let us know what you want us to talk about in the future. Lots of great guests coming up. Thank you so much, Nikki DeRoest, for coming on
Nikki.
and
we love you.
Thank you. All right.